And hello and welcome again to week 2, episode. Technically, it's not episode 2. Technically, we've done a fair amount of these, but we'll call it episode
For
2.
this big series, we'll call it episode
Yeah.
2, yeah.
Welcome to Lectures, guys, the regular LEC talk show with a name that I'm gonna push as. Oh, it's so clever. He's so. Oh, what a genius! What a visionary! How did he came up with this fantastic name and he made it? Yeah, that's where I'm going with that one every week. I hope you're ready for that. Let's talk about some League of Legends, dude, because over in the LCS, things are a bit messy, but here in the LEC, I think a little bit more. People say predictable. I'm not sure if I'd say predictable, but better League of Legends was around, which is predictable.
I would say there's less variability in certain
Yes.
matchups. Like anyone versus G2, you're not gonna be like, well, I wonder what's gonna happen, because most sane people will just guess G2 will win.
Yeah. So we still have Kings of Europe and all those fantastic narratives that nobody gets tired of. It's we love it.
Never.
You know,
it's eternally my favorite.
Two things
thing to hear.
that we love in over here in EU is tiebreakers and our Kings of Europe narrative. No, I don't. It's Quickshot's fault as well. He they've got a new generation of casters that don't really speak that narrative, and then Quickshot gets on the desk and he's like, Kings of stop. We get it. They're pretty good at League of Legends.
I mean, luckily they did take the feedback pretty quick.
Yeah, they did.
We don't have to hear that every week. We only hear it when it's somewhat relevant.
So we might as well start with G2 because I think they'll be the quickest people to talk about.
Yep.
I mean, the game against not SK. Who else did they play this week? I'm trying to find it in my list. Vitality. That's right. Their game against Vitality. It was Vitality and SK.
Yeah.
The game against Vitality where they played Pyke Yuumi. That was a game. That was a game of League of Legends. They played Pyke Yuumi bot.
Yeah, my favorite part was when they were just like, "Yeah, I wonder where Pyke's gonna." I was like, "I think this is top." No, I think it's support, and then he's like, "Nah,
it's AD. It's the AD carry." It was. I mean, so how do you feel about Vitality looking from this game? Because you look at the comp the G2 drafted, and you go, "Oh wow, they're literally just trolling." And obviously they'll play it relatively well, but their early game wasn't even that good.
Yeah, the thing about that G2 comp was like they had no AoE. They had Nico. Nico was the only AoE on their team because you have Elise W. York's single target. Pyke is you can count as AoE, but that's only very situational. And Yumi's not technically AoE. Other than her ult. Yeah. So somehow Vitality comes in, they're like, how are we gonna deal with that? We're gonna have our best player go on Jace, which isn't necessarily a bad pick, but the Jace is not going to be able to counter this team comp. It's
nothing about Jace.
I guess it's a lane matchup.
Nothing about Jace screams like, "Oh, we're going to win." But maybe they draft the Jace because they think it's the Pyke, right? But then
maybe actually that's true. I could sort of see that, but even then, I mean, how could they not have laned correctly? Like, okay, it's a Till and Jack troll, but how could they not have laned correctly against Pyke Yuumi? Like, Yumi's not that strong in the early game. She is good.
That's a good,
but she's more of a later on sort of character.
It's a good thing to even consider as a Tiller and Jack troll. So they lost. Not only did they lose, they died they died level 1 in a game against Woah, who was playing Sona.
I think this might be a world first as far as games I've watched. At least I don't think I've ever seen Sonatar get first blood, not in an invade.
That was
at level 1.
It wasn't even an invade. It was in lane.
Yeah, and the thing is, you consider it. It's what tools they have. Yeah, so Tark takes stun. Okay,
Tarek stun's actually really strong. I don't recall if they've nerfed it, but Tarek stun does 110 damage rank 1.
Oh no, it is really strong. But what happens after?
Yeah, Sona just walks up and she goes.
Sometimes if she starts Q empowered auto, they both get empowered autos, and then all their damage is literally cannon minion attacks. So riddle me this: how did they get a kill?
It was yikes. It was pretty bad. And Attila and Jack Troll not looking so hot for Vitality, which is really...
I mean, Vitality is literally the fly quest of you right now. They're the team that was pretty good last split. They ended 4th or 5th.
And they ended 4th. They played the game against Splice. They played the playoffs against Splice, and I think they lost. So which means they would be 5th.
So they would have been 4th.
5th.
Or
because
you guys had that weird format.
Fnatic,
so you'd be 5th. Well, either way, similar to FlyQuest, they were pretty decent during the regular season. They were pretty contenders, but they didn't upgrade their roster. They didn't change out. They were like, they looked at their roster and like, well, we did like second in the regular season until a point, and then they fell off. And they're like, we're just not going to change our roster at all. So we'll just keep Attila and Jack Troll, despite them. Jack Troll's okay, but Attila's been... The only reason Attila's been allowed to stay on Vitality, I think, was because we had HeQ and Jessica last season.
Oh, no.
And they made him look like the 8th best AD carry.
It's
or
true.
The 7th best, depending on.
It's like back to the G2 game when you consider this. At least. We're on G2, yeah. Well, the point I was trying to bring up is that these guys are terrible. Or it feels like they're terrible, and they were doing okay in this lane at the start. Yet they weren't like they were doing okay. They weren't punishing a Pyke Yuumi lane the way that any other lane would get punished. Where honestly, just let them push. Just give them like a minute. Just let them push. If they don't push, then sure, force you can break a freeze. I think you were playing Xayah. Were you playing Xayah Rakan? Like
in that
I think
game?
so, right? Was it Xayah Rakan?
They were playing Xayah and
Xayah Nautilus. That's right. They have Xayah. So it's not like you can't break a freeze fairly easily. And it's not like Pyke's not a champion that's gonna even be able to freeze under the tower anyway. Like he was already gonna have a hard time CSing. You want them to. They're so weak level 1 and early before like they get a first back or so, a couple of levels, that you can just let them be a little greedy and then punish them. But that's never gonna happen from this bot lane. And then I don't know. Like I think Vitality did an okay baseline. Like oh wow. Against this really weird comp, you started to do okay, at least on the bot side of the map, and then you go look at the rest and you go, oh, that's right. Guess it turns out that Mowgli just keeps going top lane repeatedly, and then he just misses a bunch of stuff or he dies. Like the first gank they get, and granted, Wonder played the Yorick really well. He gets the double trap, and it's like, oh, I'll get a kill on Sejuani with the minions, and the next time Sejuani whiffs the ult and Mowgli looked useless on Sejuani. Cabo, Cabo's still a fantastic top laner, but this was not the game for him.
Yeah, I will also say that I don't think Attila and Jatro are like potentially awful players. It's just that this split and toward the second half of last split, they just haven't been playing. Like
this week,
we saw them play pretty well at Worlds.
This week was bad. Sure. It was really bad for them.
Is inexcusably bad. No one dies to that shit. And like I know that Pyke is a good pick for G2. Like they have like 3 of the best Pyke players in EU or whatever. The meme
4.
is maybe 4. Yeah, actually I didn't count Mickey for some reason. I was like, wait, that's 4. But there's no way Pyke Yuumi should ever win.
It just shouldn't. It just
Nautilus,
shouldn't happen.
Who's flat should be one of the strongest brawlers, and especially in the early game because of how Aftershock interacts with this kit. And Xayah, I mean, like Xayah's okay, but like they went 2-10, and I mean that wasn't all in the laning phase. But this is just like Jizuke got his Echo. They had the Sejuani. Like
Jizuke looked a little better than his past week's performance, where he was awful.
He was like 50 damage off of a solo kill on Caps there, and it was at least he got the execute instead of like, feeding. But
he was trying real hard.
It definitely looked like Jizuke had a little bit more fire in him. Like he was not giving Caps a free lane at least.
Yeah, he stepped up. Caps got like not dicked on, but so much pressure in mid this game. I think they like tried 3-man gank Caps like 3 times, 4 times. And at one point, Vitality were chasing 5-man perks around the map as well. This was a G2 game. This was very much a what is going on ever? What the fuck is happening? It was Vitality are like trying to keep up with this nutty G2 pace where they always play. If they can get tempo of the game, they just run with it as fast. And like it happens almost all the time in a G2 game where like a gank goes bad top lane and you're watching the gank and G2 get the kill and then the camera has to go whoosh all the way to bot and it's like, oh, and also by the way, Perks just solo killed the guy at the exact same time.
Yeah.
It's like pretty nutty, and Vitality, to be fair, despite looking awful, their first like 7 minutes or so, 12 minutes I think it was like
they
they were
were
doing all
they were still
right.
playing the
They
game.
were like
Yeah.
keeping up. They were trying to not let things go too bad because Perks was 0-2-1 at one point, but as we've seen before in the first at MSI and the first like Pike top game that G2 played, that Pike can go like 0-5 or whatever the hell you want it to do. If you want to kill it a million times, his ult is an execute. Once he gets the damage, he just runs into the team with Morbies. He's invisible. You can't see him. Execute, pull, execute. Nothing you can do.
But the thing is, like, there's a reason why NA can't pull off Pike, and the reason why I think it's kind of inexcusable in all these games I've seen against G2 is like, Pike is very strong if it's set up for it. But you have your Jace, you have your Echo. There are actually very few. Like, I understand what Vitality is going for. The Jace should be winning lane. The Strani you're never going to execute. Echo can just cancel it with his ult. Xayah can cancel it with his ult. So, like, on paper, the squishiest member is Cabochard. And, you can trust Cabochard to at least, like, do his job and not get destroyed. So, with that in mind, somehow the people who fed the most were the bot lane and sort of Mowgli. Mowgli played so, but I'm just not impressed.
Yeah, it was not like it was hard to. I'm not trying to go in too hard because I'm trying to think. Oh well, it's G2. It's the best team in the league. What are they going to do against a comp like this? They can't have prepped for this. But it was like mechanical things and decision making that like really how they fell behind and how they ended up losing. Once G2 grouped as 5, that was it. It was everybody just runs around the jungle. They don't have any vision. They one guy gets picked. Like somebody was already on the way to help, but it's too late. He gets Pike executed. Now the other guys are pants down, also dead. At one point, I think there was a fight that went on for like 3 full minutes.
Yeah, I mean, this was in G2's element, and I do know that there's this narrative going around, which I kind of agree with, that like G2 kind of forces you to play their style. Like, you need to just like you have to fight around with them, and like it's kind of like how IG did at MSI, where it's like you're at a pace where you can't stall it. You have to fight out them. And G2 has got the players to like the caliber of players to take you on head on. So I kind of get now at second glance or third glance, I can kind of see what Vitality is going for it, but they were just outclassed. Like the jungler was getting outclassed so hard by Jankos. Like Jankos has been playing on fire for a while now.
Been pretty damn good. He's trying to earn that medal.
Yeah, he really is. MVP. And then 2 out of 5 of your players like are good enough, like that's not enough. It's just not gonna do it for you. Like FlyQuest and NA proves that. So as far as I'm concerned, I think G2 is looking pretty good still. I'm concerned they'll get complacent, but that's like a first world problem.
That's true. I mean, I think that, and we can. I mean, just keeping on the G2 topic for a moment while we move over to their game against SK, we saw maybe a little bit of that complacency off the basis that Wunder. I mean, they won this game, but Wunder for once actually looked like not a good top laner. Like, it wasn't like, oh wow, he's in a bad position, his team isn't helping him. Dude just got like solo isolated death like 4 times in a row. Like self-made just comes top lane, gets it, like he survives, wastes his flash. He's like, all right, I'm just gonna come back. Gets him into the tower, dies. Like that's kind of excusable. But like the first gank from Jankos as well, where they tower dived and Jankos ends up falling. There was a bunch of top pressure, and it's not like he didn't get help, but he was still like dying on his own. This Sakura coming in for SK actually impressed me for once in one of his first games, considering how big he's been talked about. And SK seemingly controlled G2 for a fair amount of the game, except for the fact that their mid lane Pyrian is goddamn awful.
I think he was okay at first in this game. I actually think so. I do think Pyrian played awful this game, like regardless of what I think his skill is. But I also think that the SK game plan was very flawed. I don't understand why you're banning Aurelia and Elise over Silas when you literally are picking Nico.
That's true.
and Kennen in your solo lanes. Like those are, oh, and like you could sort of say Lee Sin, but I mostly think the Nico Kennen are the big ticket like alts. Like those characters, their existence is so hinged on their ult, and Silas is literally just wearing it better. And you have Caps as Silas with all that. Like
Yeah.
Caps was like 11 CS off of Flame Horizon in period there. Like
it was
it's
it was pretty
disgusting.
bad. Like 50 CS down. At one point, like Cap steals the ult. It's about level 6. Cap steals the ult. He uses it. Perian is out. He flashes out. He's safe. And Perian's so scared that under his own tower he just wastes Nico ult. And I'm like, did he just use ult for no reason? I had to watch it like 4 times. Caps wasn't even in range. Also, your webcam is frozen. I was gonna let you finish, but yeah, your webcam's it's not a huge deal, but your webcam has frozen.
Alright, that's weird. Let me see. Turn off camera.
There you go. There we go. Yeah, the magic of technology.
Yeah. Have you tried turning it on and off?
It's fixed.
Yeah, so like I think they had a really good planning on the SK side. I think Selfmade showed off some of his like he's kind of been quiet this split, so he did show off some of his like ability to path and also outplay in the early game. But the problem is that they left their mid lane just like on an island against Caps, and he could not hold his own there.
Not many people
I
can.
mean, it's definitely credit to Yankos too, like for the pressure, but
it was.
I would just have to say like they might just not have the pieces necessary to the communication or the pieces necessary to pull it out against a team of G2's caliber. If I think of against like a majority of the other teams in the LEC, I think they could have probably taken that lead and started snowballing it. But
yeah,
they left up Silas, and it's against.
I think that like their mid lane is not, because that's the real fault in which G2 actually managed to find their way back into the game. Was that they just, I mean, a 50 CS lead is one thing, but they also just Perian was also just inting, so they're just picking up kills on Perian in these team fights. If your Nico's down and that big ult's down, then what do you kind of 4v5, so now you kind of start to lose other fights just out of pressure alone. And from there, oh wow, now the gold lead slowly ticks back up. Not even slowly. At some point, like the gold lead is like relatively even though G2 are down like 4 kills or something like that. It's pretty. I don't want to say it's pretty sad because that sounds like really bad for SK. They were the closest team so far that maybe other than maybe Origin, but I don't even think so, that looked like they could beat G2. The fact that their solo laner and their jungler played really well and actually punished Wunder like a lot. I don't think we've seen anyone punish Wunder in forever, because he just kind of does what he wants. He gets a counter pick and he just sits top and does some dumb stuff. He was playing Victor top for some reason. Like, as if Victor's not very good right now. He hasn't been good for a while.
I think he's okay in mid.
In mid, Victor good. Top is like the glacial Iceborne Gauntlet build and stuff, right? And it's like we haven't seen that since Worlds.
I mean, he went full AP here, to be fair, but he went the I have it up. He went the Ludens build this time with the perfect core and everything. But either way, I felt like even if the Shy was having trouble pulling it off at MSI, so I was like, I thought that would have convinced them that Victor's probably not ready in the meta. Yeah. But perhaps they thought it was the counter to Kennen, because in a way it does do a lot of things Kennen doesn't like. You know, you keep the range. If Kennen tries to the W is just good enough to usually like just halt the approach and everything without flash. So like matchup wise, I understand, but
it's just a little maybe not great for what you want on your top laner when it's Wunder.
Yeah. So I can only imagine they were just trying it out as more variety, because like right now they're basically making it very hard to pick ban against them. Like the Elise was banned, which like Elise is up in prio. Sona was banned because you can solo lane Sona. And then, or not solo lane, do Sona without Taric. And then they have the Aurelia ban, which I can understand, but like to see now Elise with Silas, and maybe if they make Victor a bannable of like character, like more, it's just better for them. I mean, he did do 33% damage. I mean, it's Victor, but that's all.
His damage share is fine. It's just like the way that Wunder ended up playing because of picking a champion like Victor, where he's just overextending in lane because he thinks that usually he has an outplay potential, and he didn't, so he just got punished. Even when he like transitioned to bot lane, they just immediately were like, all right, Kennen, Lee Sin, die, like twice again. But I guess if we're gonna shit on SK, we might as well talk about the game that hurt me a little, if only because I'm somehow now like a Rogue fan.
I mean, they've been looking all right. But real quick, before we leave the G2 topic, I wanted to ask you. So on this patch that they're going into, I believe next week or maybe the week after. I don't know LEC's patches as well.
We're going to Rift Rivals, so by the time we're back, we'll be on 9.12.
Yeah, I think 9.12 might happen next week for NA at least, because they said this was the last week we would see Silas in this form. But I don't know if EU is going
we
the
should
same.
be. I can't imagine why we wouldn't.
So my question then, with that in mind, is what do you think is going to happen to G2 and other teams like them, but mostly G2, who's been like very powerful on like Silas, on Rise? Like there's like all these flex picks that they're just like incredibly powerful on, and a lot of them, like I don't know if Rise is still viable. Like
we both don't, right? I don't think we actually see the changes.
Mordekaiser might be in the fray, and then they don't have Silas anymore. I am convinced that Silas is a lot weaker for now. Like I think it will come back as like, you know, as long as other people's ults are good in the game, Silas should be good. It doesn't really matter about the other spells. But at least week 1, I think his pick rate's only going to be like 2 people. At most.
It's worrying for G2 for sure, because they're not going to have the likes of, well, potentially they'll get their hands on Aurelia, but I find it unlikely. So they're not going to have the Silas, they're not going to have the Rise anymore. They'll still, I mean, Pyke got nerfed as well, so they'll end up having support Pyke, so they can't even go to that. So they've got what? They've got Nico.
Nico, maybe new Mordekaiser
if that gets through.
Maybe that's why they're playing Victor now, actually, now that I think about it.
I mean,
just like as
I don't think it's like hugely worrying, because it's not like Perks can't play standard like Xayah or Sivir and do relatively well. So it's not their bot lane flexibility when they can play mages down there as well still exists. So they're safe in that regard. It's just thinking, the question then goes, do Caps and Wunder look as good as they look if they don't have a champion that lets them pull off as much of the outplay that they are known to do? And I don't know. I think that Caps is still a fantastic player. I don't think that it's like game over. Well, not game over, but I don't think it's that worrying for them, compared for them as players, as much as it might be for like fans or viewers to go, G2 are gonna look so weak because they can't get their good picks. Because I'm sure these players are like, well, you know, it's not like I don't have like 5,000 Azir games or something like that, or standardized top laners. Like, it's not like Wunder can't play the likes of, I don't know, Rumble, Kennen. It's just that we're so used to them pushing this envelope of being like, well, we're just gonna pull something out that's a little bit more offensively strong.
Right. All right. Well, we will see. I mean, I do think that there'll be a little bit more volatility in their picks.
I think there'll be a bump for but this might be where they lose. I mean,
it will affect the other teams too. So yeah. All right, let's move on to
SK Rogue, because it hurt. It hurt if only because I felt like Rogue could win this game. SK are a reasonably, they're, like we said from the G2 game, they're like reasonable. They're not awful. This is another one of these teams that could be bottom side playoffs currently. And there was a lot to talk about in this game. Like Vi was picked into Yuumi.
Vi won a game.
Vi was picked for the first time in LEC, and if you consider EULCS, the last time she was picked was by Shook in 2015 of the EULCS. So it's been it's probably been about 4 years since.
So these are like the elements days?
Yes.
2015, because 2014 was a lot. Yeah, that's holy shit. That's when Reckless played on the team.
It was a really long time ago. But it's a smart pick, because you take Vi and you take Nautilus, and then you go, it doesn't matter who Yuumi is on, you just point and click CC them, and now Yuumi's definitely dead, and also so is that person. Makes sense. Yeah. It was really smart. However, you know, despite that, on the side of SK, I did think that it might not have been necessarily enough. Rogue were playing their top side of the map is still playing really well, and it was Ezreal Yuumi. Now, Yumi hadn't got a win in EU yet, so I guess maybe the narrative
I
was
don't know why you guys can't manage to get a win on Yumi. It's literally broken
maybe
any other region other
maybe the
than here.
narrative should have told me that, hey, Rogue, we're gonna lose this game. But they actually played really well. Like they knew that their mid laner was strong. They set up like this 3-man gank on mid where they pull the cannon down so that Pyrrhion's forced to overextend and they get like a 3-man gank in. Profits roaming heavily from 7 minutes to come mid as well. They're like, dude, we just gotta get Larson out and ahead a little bit, and then he'll win us the game. He seems like, from watching the player cams when they're playing, he's talking the most. So I would assume that he's the captain of he's the shot caller of the team, and
yeah, which is surprising to some
he's the
extent,
rookie.
considering 3 of their members have been playing for a while. Like I don't remember when Prophet joined EU. I think it's 2017 or late or early
It might
18.
have been. He was on that 2017 G2, so I want to say early.
Yeah, but I know that Woah and Vander have been in the league for eons, so it's surprising that the most talkative is Larson, but I think that's a good sign. Like you have a mid laner who's been playing pretty well. Like most of his games have been relatively inspiring compared to last year Rogue at least. So that's good to see. I think Inspire is still a good player. Like I think that him and Larson, they already have pre-existing synergy back from the Masters League. But he did pick Rek'Sai here, and I honestly didn't think he did. He didn't after the early game. Like, I mean, understandably, it is Rek'Sai, but
he went blue smite.
You shouldn't. Vi shouldn't be.
God, there's a lot I didn't like about his Rek'Sai. There's a lot. Also, your camera's frozen again. It's not that it's not a huge deal, but it's.
I don't know why it keeps doing that. That's just so strange.
It's fine. It was a I don't want to say unappealing. That sounds offensive. It was not a good look for you to be frozen on, so I didn't want it to be stuck like that. Because
no, I mean I agree. I like on my screen it looks like it's moving fine because I can see my own.
I don't know. Preview. It might be my Discord. That could be it.
So either way, if whatever shows up on the stream it'd be important for it to be okay. So I'll just keep fixing it. I'll probably update my Logitech software or whatever.
But yeah.
Anyways, Saker. I think they go by Saker in the game. But
Sakura,
Sakura is what they say. That's
I've got the pronunciation here. Hang on, I've got.
Yeah, I remember he kept on saying Sakura, and I was like, yeah, I'm gonna make a note of that because I can't.
Because it's French. Sakura.
But
like Sacre Bleu.
Makes sense. Okay, then I can remember that. But I think he did pretty well this game. Like as far as like Vlad versus Renekton lanes go, like if you've ever played against PTA Renekton, like that press the attack damage is, even if it's nerfed, it's pretty absurd, especially against Vlad. And like he itemized an early executioners in that game too. So like as far as I'm concerned, I think that Sakura's been like at least a very solid upgrade over 100%. Warlord. This is the first time he really showed up. Like I would say in the G2 game, he did fine.
I thought in the G2 game he had a nice little outplay on the G2 game where he like hides around the corner and waits for Wunder to push up, and then he's like, solo kill. Solo killing Wunder's pretty damn good for a guy that was just playing an EU Masters.
I mean, most EU top. I mean, Warlord would never.
Exactly. So this guy, solid improvement.
So, yeah, I mean, they have Soulmate, they have Sakurai, and I don't know if Pyrrhion's an upgrade, but
he's just. Even this game, I don't think I feel like Pyrrhion wasn't. I mean, I didn't write anything about Pyrrhion, and I wrote a lot about everybody else. Something that I put down that I thought was like, if Rogue want to make playoffs, this is something they need to fix like almost immediately. Is their vision game is it is wank, dude. It is so bad. They let 2 Fire Drakes go without any vision whatsoever. Like the first one, it goes for nothing, and I'm like, and there was no vision, they weren't ready, it was just started. I'm like, all right, well maybe you don't have priority on your mid lane, your bot lane, so it kind of makes sense that you could potentially give that one over. But the second Infernal Drake, I cannot forgive. You have no vision. You can't just be like, oh wow, oh whoops, we forgot Dragon again. It's Fire Drake. It's like it's the most important one.
I mean, the worst offense is like they're literally running Rek'Sai Renekton, and it's like during the times where those dragons were taken, it's just inexcusable to be. Do you really not have the prior or the ability to TP in for that fight? In a straight up fight, you should be winning those. Like this is an early-ish game Sivir, and the second Ezreal finishes his gauntlet and his Mana Munes, like you should be way more impactful than Sivir in these team fights. Like, yeah, later on, Sivir's definitely going to be the late game powerhouse, but it just made no sense. Like, they were playing the game backwards. They were like giving up dragons with Rek'Sai Renekton. Like, why do you bother drafting them? You might as well have just drafted like GP or some shit at that point. And scaled alongside.
What's worse is that I feel like it shows like the mentality of the players as well. Woolite's still clearly like back new into the league, and they lose the dragon, and then almost immediately there's a pick in mid lane. I think it was like it was a rotation off from dragon straight to the mid where they dive, and Woolite, even though he's bot side, clearly goes, we just lost dragon and Drake, let me make up for that, and he just overextends on bot side and like does a stupid thing and gets himself killed because clearly there's some level of like, oh, we can't keep losing all these objectives or these so, and then they int, and I'm like, you can't tilt like that. That's like not.
That's the mark of like either like a not coordinated team, or like if you're gonna take that risk, like why did you wait until the super big objective went off? Like it's already like not like, you know, a high percentage play, so why did you wait until you gave up the big objective and then you're like, now I'm gonna take the risk? It kind of reminds me of in League when you're like defending the inhibitor and your teammates are like, okay, well, let the inhibitor drop, then we'll take the all-in fight. And I'm thinking to myself, I'm like,
just go.
What's the inhib gonna do for you? Like,
inhib's gonna attack for me real quick.
I mean, the only like silver line I would say for Rogue for this game at least is like they did show some signs of life in the early-ish game to some extent. It's just that their ward control is bad. I mean, you have 2 rookies and a guy who hasn't been in the high level scene for like 4 years now in Woolite. So I can see them growing a bit throughout the split. And as far as our rogue counter is going, I mean, we could talk about the other.
This rogue counter. Well, yeah. What's the other rogue game that we? This is the one where they actually. Yes,
I mean, they beat Vitality.
They beat Vitality, and it was actually, to be fair, it shows how well Prophet is, because this is the game where he survives the 4v1 dive.
It was
insane.
Nuts. I don't know if I can show the clip.
I could actually
on stream.
I could do that. Magic. I can't do it. I don't have it set up, but through the
Okay, because I have my screen capture on right now.
If you can find it, but then we have to. You know what? I'll stall. Yeah. But to the magic of video editing, you might not see this part, and there might be a play on the screen. And might is that there will be. I'm now forced to do this now that I've said it.
Thanks for the stalling. This was day 1, I believe.
You're gonna have to talk us through this. In fact, what I'll do is I'll wait while you're talking through, and then it'll be like, look at the magic of.
Oh, I have it open. Yeah. So Rogue vs Vitality, and it was.
I'll set this up for next time. Though I'll have a little screen. I'm gonna move the cams and have a little screen set up so that we can look over plays. That'll be a good. We should do that.
Yeah, I don't remember when.
Oh my god! I'll see if I've timestamped it.
I had it written down, but I can't open notes.
No, I don't have it timestamped. Yikes! It's like. Anyway, it's it.
Okay.
You got it.
There it is.
Cool.
I got it. All right. So on my screen right now, what happens is there's a play that happens, and Cab was trying to make a dive on Prophet. I'm watching it right now on stream. They Mowgli screws up his repel, so he actually just keeps taking the turret,
Sounds right,
and not taking for his teammates. Then Prophet, instead of just being like, "Oh, I lived," he just goes in.
They get the TP.
Okay, this is actually they get the TP with
Vander
getting off his oh my god,
global
Taragal. That was nuts. Insane. I didn't know you could channel TP with Taragal. Like, I just don't play Tarek, so that was fucking insane. I'm gonna rewind it again, but basically, Prophet actually makes a proactive play here. He gets the kill on Mowgli, then gets saved at the last second, and then gets another kill. That was
like for coming from a team that we were just like, oh, they've got no vision, they've got no comms. That was nuts. That was that's somebody being there's 4 people top. Oh, don't worry, dude. Sona's just gonna TP in with Taragal. You'll be fine.
I mean, funny enough, because I was watching the stream. I was watching the clip right after.
He goes. He walks forward.
He's like, "Oh,
flash,
I'm so hyped up." And
dies.
You can tell that he's not in the veteran mindset right now. He has the years under his belt, but he's definitely the hypey kind of player so far. It's he gets that awesome double kill. They coordinated so well, and then he's just like, "All right, I'm gonna go."
Back. Dude, when
solo
nuts,
kill at
dude.
Sona.
Do you see what we just did? Of course we can kill him. Yumio up.
Goodness, it was
yikes.
So it's definitely the kind of rough around the edges that you expect to see from a team of this like level of experience. Like their net experience as a team is kind of low, but some sick coordination. Like they have some tricks up their sleeves, and I mean it doesn't help that like this is also the game we alluded to where Till and Jack
just
died
dies
level
1 to Sonataric.
Holy cow! That was just like one of the worst
with a Yumi, I guess
I have ever had the displeasure to witness.
It was.
All right, I have it up.
It was yikes.
I mean, like Attila just like walks up with Flash, he gets hit, and then Jack Troll's like trying to solo it, and Vander just flash power chords. I don't know how this guy's a professional AD carry if he doesn't know his ranges and stuff.
It's not great. It was, in fact, it's worse than not great. Like, this is something that you would. This is one of those fabled Dignitas Renegade moments, is what it is. It is one of those.
Yeah,
it just doesn't seem as bad because nothing will ever seem as bad as that, unfortunately. No, I kind of, so.
For the sake of professional league integrity.
Like, I'm gonna start watching like VCS and stuff, trying to find those moments.
I'm sure it happens in the VCS with how high their average kills are over there, and Zeros being one of their best players. Levi's back.
Are you gonna flame Zeros like that, dude? Are you gonna throw him under the bus after we hyped him up for like a month?
I mean, if I'm gonna put my chips on a guy and he's gonna disappoint that much, it's gonna be the backlash is just as high. That's the curse of being hyped up.
This game was it's simple from that point onwards, honestly though. Like you look at that kind of set level of play, vitality, Mowgli was just dying all over the map. Next thing you know, I mean Rogue still had really poor vision, but it just didn't matter because they drafted Sonataric, oh my god.
Sonataric.
My brain.
I mean, they're mix and match as a bot lane.
Sonataric, so. And they just scaled it and then they won. Yeah. And I mean, they had Rogue did have a small problem, which was they didn't have enough damage to do Baron. And they start Baron. First of all, they have Baron. So Baron's like overly warded. Like I say, vision game's important, but maybe like actually place wards in different places and vitality, that would be useful. Because they've got like 2 wards here next to the pit. They've got the crab. They've got vision all over Baron. And Rogue clear most of it out except for the 2 wards right next to the pit that can see them. So they started with the crab. And they're like, vitality come over and stop it. And they're like, we did. I assumed that they were trying to test their damage because their team is fairly weak in terms of like being able to burst the Baron down. They have all off. And I can't even remember who their mid laner was. Who the hell was Larson playing?
They had
Syndra, yeah, that's right. So they don't have like huge burst. So I'm like, maybe they're just testing their damage to see if they can do it. They back off, they get cancelled, and then like not even 3 minutes later, they're just on it again. Didn't clear the vision again, like trying to force something. They just keep coming back to this Baron fight, and they're just like, I
mean, legitimately, none of their characters were a good Baron taker. Like when Sona's doing the most damage to Baron, you have a problem. Like. It was Tank Jarvan, Olaf with Warriors, which like admittedly can do some damage, but since Olaf is doing some of the tanking, he's just gonna be mitigated for everything except for his E. And then like Syndra does some damage, but it's nothing like the Cassiopeia they drafted earlier. Yeah, so
they almost threw the game around that Baron play because they keep trying to force this, and it's very like.
I mean, they almost threw the Baron. There's almost no legitimate way they would lose that game, even if they lost the Baron. Like they just would scale so hard.
I mean, the end is that they didn't even need. I think they went for it, but they didn't even need the Baron to end. But they weren't pushing side lanes like they should have. At least trying to push side lane, or even just putting 5 people bot lane. They almost refused to go bot lane because they knew the Baron was up and they were scared of losing it. Even though I don't think it was necessarily contested.
It just
they forced this one isolated play. And they're like, we can't do it. Eventually, I can only assume that Prophet just got like sick and tired of doing the same thing, and he's like, "I'm just gonna go solo kill." Well, it wasn't a solo, but it was an initiation of like, "I'm just gonna go and hit Elise, and fucking try and make a pick." And they make a pick, and they're like, "All right, there we go. Now we can just do it." Jesus,
I think that if they've ever scrimmed this comp before, there's no reason to be dancing Baron that early on in the game.
Not a good,
but I mean, Rogue at least still got a win. I mean, it's against one of the worst teams in the league, in vitality so far. It's such a weird sentence to say. This is like I mean, I know EU's been beating this dead horse, but they are the team that inspired like the EU
Renaissance
play style
would be the right word.
Yeah, Renaissance. Yeah, I'm trying not to plagiarize their terms,
the
you know. They keep on begging me over the head with EU Renaissance, Euphoria. I'm not the biggest fan of some of it. I think the production value has been great, and I think it's been more entertaining. But some of them definitely haven't landed. So I hope that they keep trying new stuff and listening to feedback. Anyway, I think that the Rogue is still looking more alive than last split. Again, not a difficult thing to do. They were 10th place. This sort of looks like the floundering GGS last split, where they were starting to get their shit together. They had on paper a decent roster, but they weren't getting all the wins that they should have been getting. So I'm hoping that this continues to evolve. Their vision game is what a former 10th place team would probably.
It was not good. It's really bad, but hey.
But Prophet's good. He looks like he's still playing with an idea of I want to make plays, and I'm not just gonna be a scared top laner in this pool of pretty stacked
he
top
feels
laners.
Like he actually deserves to be part of this unnecessarily good line of top laners in EU. He fits right in.
Yep. So top jungle mid, I think they have a lot of room to grow. I don't think Woah should stay in if he's gonna keep playing like this. We know where this guy plays at. At best, he was a 5th place.
When he was on Rocket,
teams 80 carry. When he's on Rocket with Vander, admittedly.
Yeah, I don't know. Where are we putting Rogue on the Rogue meter? I forgot. We're just new in it. It was
something
it was,
out of
it was
6.
Out of
I think
6
out of 6 would have made you
6th is 6th place. They're looking like a 6th place team, and 1 is bad.
I mean, technically, right now, aren't they LEC standings 2019 summer? Aren't they technically RE6? 3rd. They're tied for 3rd. I forgot because it's only week 2.
We're a little...
So technically they're 6 out of 6. But jokes aside, if I'm just rating their play, I think that G2's better, Fnatic's better, Origin's better. Misfits surprisingly is better, thankfully. SK, I would say, if in a matchup, is still better.
I can see that.
They're better than Excel.
We'll get there.
Not hard. They definitely are better than Vitality, but I'm not ready to say they're better than Schalke or Splice. So I think that they're
okay.
That makes them 8th. So I would give them a 4 out of 6, which is better than the 3.5.
Yeah, slight improvement. Slight improvement. The Rogue.
I mean, they're inching up there. You see life. That 1v4 outplay really made me convinced, and then Woah brought me back down a bit. He's like, we'll win this game, but I will make it. I will make it interesting, just like our normal games yesterday.
Oh no!
I'm so glad that we don't have enough of a viewership right now. At least
about.
To
those
have
were
someone
fantastic
just clip
games.
that.
They were great. Mitch is.
You want me to zoom in on all those blue cards?
Fantastic, at least. Yeah.
You guys are both interesting.
I don't know what you're talking about, man. I'm trying my best. 125 ping. What do you want from me? Yeah. But yeah, well, Rogue meter 4.4 out of 6 is actually. I mean, that's way higher than I'd. Yeah, I feel like they're doing pretty good.
Up there, and honestly, with Vitality dropping out, it makes it a lot easier for them to raise up there because they were already better than Excel.
Might as well talk about Excel, right?
They only have to. All right, let's give them a mention. All right, so what we have for Excel's matchups this week is Excel played against Splice, and Excel played against.
It was Misfits. It the Misfits? Yes, it was Misfits.
Yeah, I mean it should say somewhere. It says it right here. Yep. Let's go with the Misfits one first, I guess, because I mean, it was a stomp. It was a quick, easy to say. Sona continues to prove that it was not a fluke. She can be played solo lane as long as solo without Targ, as long as it's with Tom Kench, or I think she was played with Braum once, but not in this region. Anyway, either way, Tom Kench is the golden boy for her because it just lets her do all the things she wants to do. Tom Kench has similar utility to Targ, where it makes you almost immune for a while, and he's stupidly tanky base stats wise, especially after the buffs to his base stats to compensate for the W nerf, which surprisingly hasn't seemed to slow him down in pro play. I thought he was still going to be good, but I didn't think he was going to be so high. They
buffed him, to be fair. I feel like it didn't feel like a buff because of the way that they changed the play. But like what he used to offer was
Yeah.
that champions like Varus could freely just be like could just int and be safe, and then you could always draft like a Varus Tam Kench or something like that, where it's like these hyper carries that don't have escapes and they don't have to be worried about like the aggressive jungle players like Jarvan and Rek'Sai. But now he doesn't need to grab those people because now he just does so much damage.
Yeah, and like additionally, I mean, you've got a world where he's just all of his stats are better on all of the other spells. His base stats are higher.
Yeah.
His Q's insane. Like you see those Reddit clips where he's just like slapping you with stuns over and over. And then he also has, this is slightly underrated, but his like gray skin or whatever it's called, his gray health getting extra healing and extra efficiency is just like, it's so impactful in the laning phase where like you don't have as much consistent sustain. He's basically like a Pike, almost Pike levels of sustain out of combat. So like, yes, his W grounds him, but like you're gonna have trouble killing him. So he still provides so much. I do think that the other things we were gonna talk about for XL is Kadril continues to pick characters that like I don't think he can execute. Like I don't know what support main who switches to jungle and decides I'm gonna play Lee Sin and pro play. I mean, it almost sounds like Ryan yesterday, honestly. Your score was good. No, your score is quite good. You're like 7-4 and like 20 or 15 or something shit like that. So your score was really good. And I would say that you gave Mitchell a run for his money in the jungle. But some of those kicks, did that kick help you guys when I kicked the Varus into the team? But anyways, Kadril continues to look expect it's still their best player in my opinion. I don't know if Mickey's just.
I don't know if he was even in these games, dude. I didn't see him once.
This man, like, it's like all the people who have beaten Faker before. I feel like this sort of fall off afterward. Like Febi's was like he had some time on Fnatic, then he wilded away on Clutch, and I'm just like, what happened to you, man? So like, I don't know. It's like it's like the penalty for beating, except Rookie. Rookie plays better.
Does he right now?
Other than that, right now he's not looking great. I mean, he also has some family issues back home, so he's got subbed out. So you never know. It's hard for me. It's like I can't easily commentate on that. So all I can say is he's not looking as great, but maybe there's a reason. But Mickey is just
It's been a while. This guy beat Faker.
I don't even know if he's better than who he replaced.
He's like, it's not a fluke, guys. I can beat Faker. I'm pretty damn good at League of Legends. Please put me on a good team. And how many years has it been? He's
like he's right now he's playing like one of those bronze players. Like if it weren't for my teammates,
dude, those bronze players are right.
I cannot wait for the next.
Turns out you can take a bronze player, put him in the LCK. He can smash Faker, but he can't climb when his teammates are garbage.
I mean, if a Brazilian
it was a gold full brand.
Gold brand can beat Faker, then like obviously a bronze Korean has more than enough chance. But anyways, Kadrill's looking bad. Mickey's looking like he's inting. I think he's just tilted. I don't understand. Like they put him on a team where the only Korean speaker is his top laner, who's rarely gonna come down to help him because like it's top laner and it's not Wonder. If it was Wonder in your top laner, you can expect ganks mid. But Kadrill's just not doing well. Like Kira just outclassed him.
I thought Kira was a little bit better than fine. I thought that like Kadrill messed up level 1 really hard.
Yeah, I mean, this was like the first game Kira had, right?
Might be in the second
game. No, this was the first. It was like one of his first games. But all I remember was I'm like, what, did you really just miss Smite on that invade? Oh yeah, we haven't talked about that.
Yeah,
that level 1 invade.
It was
atrocious.
Awful.
Like, okay, it could be that XL maybe could have done something with this comp. You know, it's Lee Sin, it's Rise, it's Rumble early game, and you have Cybercon. Like, I understand what it is on paper, but that level 1, how did he miss Smite? He got outsmited by a Kindred, and he had his Q up, and I was just like watching. I'm like, the man literally didn't know how much damage his Q execute did, and he's a pro level jungler.
And obviously because you missed the Smite, you don't even need the second part of the Q. You can just Q Smite. And then you don't have to overcommit, but he goes in. Now he's stuck because he's level 1. He doesn't have W. He's just dead to Kindred.
He left it at like 40 health at 30 health. It wasn't like, you know, one of those like unfortunate like 10 health miscalculate. No, it was really off. It was like the obvious sign that this guy doesn't play Lee Sin a lot. He doesn't know his numbers when he's clearing his jungle. I don't even have level 5 mastery on Lee Sin, and I knew like the basics. Like I saw him going, I'm like, I think that's early, and then he missed it, and then he died first blood to the Kindred who had him marked. And so after that, Kiri was just like, nah, thanks, man. You made me look like one of the best junglers in LEC.
To be fair, so he loses his blue, and because he knows he's lost blue, because Kira takes blue, they get, he
goes red steal, red counter steal, then takes the blue immediately.
And they get Misfits get a ward placed on the Krugs because they know that the only place he can go is red Krugs or red chickens Krugs. So Kira runs straight over to blue. And then just walks up over to the wall, waits for him, waits for vision. Oh, there he is on Krugs. Hops over the wall, kills him again. Which is really smart pathing, at least. Obviously, you should expect it from like high-level players. But to be fair, we don't usually see junglers fuck up that hard. So we don't get to see them get punished that hard.
I mean, like, it's the kind of shit you see in solo queue where, like, basically Kiri just ignored all other factors. He's like, okay, I got my red, I got my blue. I'm just going to loop around. Go to the Krugs. He'll never expect.
And he somehow didn't.
K-Drill's an.
It's the only place that he. It is the only place you can be. Therefore, Kindred knows you're there. Then that.
I think it's slightly a. It could also be slightly be because he has no way to communicate quickly with Mickey. I think Expect speaks okay English, so for some reason Expect should be there, but I don't think he was there in time. And Mickey just obviously didn't roam up because it's Mickey, and he doesn't do that even when he can communicate. But I think K-Drill needed to call for his laners to come over.
Nothing happened because he's got 2 Koreans. Yikes.
Yeah, so as far as I'm concerned, like K-Drill's still looking awful. I can't blame him completely. Like if you make that mess up, like that's his fault. But if you made that mess, there's nothing you could do unless you're MLXG. He's like one of the only Lee Sins I've ever seen like get fucked at level 1. Lose his buff, get like destroyed level 2, and then he just like ganks the map and wins the game.
Who even fucking needs buffs,
he's like levels are just a number anyways.
MLXG's pretty nuts. Isn't he not playing right now? Didn't he get like oh my god.
He's not playing right now. He's either self-benched or streaming, but like I think it's a travesty.
Get MLXG on this team. And then there can be instead of being called XL, they can be called XG. MLXG. That's awful. But hey,
I know what you're going for. Also, one other note: Hirano was fine in this game. He did get caught out by like Cocoon, I think it was, in one of a very major game in some other game. Hirano is looking okay though. He's still an upgrade over Jess.
No, he was in Misfits. I don't even remember who the hell XLs.
No,
Rogue.
He
was on Rogue.
Okay, yeah, just got then. Okay, I the 2 shitter 80 carries from last, but I just put him on the bottom 2 teams. So, but Hirano's looking like an upgrade for sure. I just don't think he's enough of a carry threat to put them over the edge. And Kasim's still looking kind of I'm sorry, man. He's one of your brothers, but
this game was. I was like, oh, wow. Turns out Kasing. Oh.
Yeah, Kastine's kind of like a super discount version of.
That's what I was going with.
No, I was gonna say Mata, where you're like you look at his golden days, and then whenever he doesn't make plays, you're just like, but he could be really good.
Could be.
But I think that's not giving Mata enough credit. Mata's still good enough by far.
It was.
So,
this game was just bad. Yeah. Like XL lose level 1 and then level 2, and then from there like nothing. Like they just get ran over. And to be fair to Misfits, they they didn't do anything special, but they played the game pretty much the way they were supposed to, given how the lead that they got, which was their jungle is really ahead and it's on a Kindred. The game slowed down for a short amount of time. Kindred just goes, I'm just going to take this Infernal Drake, I'm just going to steal that. And from that point, wherever Kindred goes, we push on that side of the map. We go, Kindred's bot side, we just push bot side. We keep denying blue buff, we push that wave, then we'll go somewhere else. If they overextend, Kindred's there to make the kill, and we're safe, and we slowly just take all the towers and win the game. Nothing special, but standard League of Legends. at least they can play standard,
Yeah,
right?
I mean, it looks like they know how to pull off
Which
like
is
the basics.
important because a lot of teams can't actually. Unfortunate truth. So.
I mean, teams like FlyQuest can prove you can be like top 4, contending for top 3 as long as you know your fundamentals. You don't need to have amazing players. You just need to be rotating, controlling vision, and making plays when you need to. And like that's the basics. Obviously, once you play against better teams, you're gonna just get skill checked. But at the very least, you can smash the lower level teams consistently.
Yeah, XL's other game was against Splice, and this was XL like. They let Lux go through. They pick Rakan, and in their like third rotation, I think they pick. Is it Jace?
The XL Splice game? They didn't play Lux that game.
No, didn't Splice play Lux? What have I got this written down?
Not against XL, at least. Lux was banned by Splice against XL.
Huh. Whatever.
But either way, going through the draft, there was so I have it on screen right now. It's Jace, Jarvan, Silas, Sivir, Braum for XL, and then for Splice,
I realized what I've got written down. Okay,
Poppy.
They let Lux. They draft Jarvan in their third pick instead of Lux, even though Rakan is picked on the opposite side, and then Lux gets banned. Yes. That's what it was.
This was the
Jesus Christ! It's just the most broken support in the game right now. Just pick it.
She's definitely. Oh, I think Yumi's stronger, but she's definitely top 3. Top 4.
2-second root level 1.
Because there's a reason why Yumi like is permabanned or picked. 100%.
Not in Europe.
Like I think Lux is top up there.
Not in Europe.
Not in Europe, but that's only because Mickey X is the only one who can get a win on him. I don't know what you guys are cats over there, but it's absolute incompetent
dog people.
No, actually, the real reason is because the only time they let Yumi up is usually against lower tier teams. Like it's kind of like the phenomena.
We
where,
say that,
like,
but she's been picked 5 times. So
yeah,
4 of the lower tier teams.
If you
Rogue,
if you click on her losses though, all of her losses have been on Vander, Cassini, Jack Troll, and Ignar. Those are the and Jack Troll twice. So Vitality got it twice. Last place team. Ignar got it once.
Misfits.
Ignar on again? Schalke?
No, you're right. Schalke. Gorilla.
Misfits is Misfits is someone else now. Gorilla now. Yeah, I know the old Ignar, but so Ignar's on Schalke. So like there's 2 and 2, but he's on Schalke. Cassini obviously, Excel, and then Vander's on Rogue. So like literally it's just all the worst teams, and then Schalke.
But.
And then they gave it to Mickey only because they have to ban so much shit against G2 that it just slips through.
I don't even think he looked that good on it, but it didn't matter.
So it's true, but all he had to do is AFK
let
on
his
top of
rest,
server or whatever.
Just like, it's fine. I mean, play.
He needs those wrists so he can read more books, so he can play more League. The cycle of Mickey.
This game was not good for XL. Spice pretty much just. The Poppy pick that they did was good.
It was just yeah, the Poppy pick was good. It still counters Jace to some extent after a certain point. Like Jace can actually get solo killed by Poppy, which is hilarious. But Jace, Silas, and Jarvan just have trouble, especially Jarvan. Like you try to gank Poppy, you're literally just sitting there waiting for her to W, but she has no reason to W until you put your flag down. So
it was.
I mean, Vizzy's still good.
Xerxes looks good.
He got a game-winning play with his cocoon on Hiernan, but I don't know if that's just Hiernan inting or.
I don't know. I think Xerxes looks really good when he plays Elise.
Oh no, for sure. But like, it's absolutely the kind of character he's made to play. Like, he's the kind of guy who's like, he wants to pop off. He wants to play hyper aggressive, and like, he doesn't give a shit like what happens later on in the game. He just wants to win it for his team, and like that usually crashes and burns in a lot of metas, but like when it does do well, it looks amazing, especially on a character like Elise, who for my money I think EU has made her a contender for like top 4 junglers, top 3 junglers being picked right now. She's not being picked very much in NA yet, but she's definitely looking really good in EU, to be fair,
in terms of like history.
Traditionally, that's true. Kabi's looking okay. I hear a lot about Norscarin being really good.
Norscarin's known to be like playmaker at times, but we haven't seen anything like that in a while. But to be fair, Kabi, was the reason everyone talks about Kobe so much is because he's meant to be the best team fighting AD carry in the league, off the basis that the last best of 5, and I think the one before that, or like near the end of the split that they were playing, Splice's wins were coming from just straight team fighting alone, where they'd get to late game because their mid game was really bad. They'd get to late game, and then Kobe would just solo carry like several team fights in a row. So now,
if that's the case, and with that in mind, I mean, it's the narrative they're trying to push, and I mean, understandably, like, as far as I'm concerned, like, I think he's fine. I think one of his, I guess, things I was underrated before that I noticed more this week was that he does have this ability to at least not turbo in like fights. Like, when you get to like later on fights, like mid game to late game, you need your AD carry to stay alive. You don't always need him to do like stupid amounts of damage, but you need him to always be a threat in the fight. And he finds himself in less of those like dumb situations than like a superstar AD carry, like Double It, for example. Like Double It will sometimes like just like, oh, he died, but his team will like, you know, clean it up, so people don't really remember it. But like Hobby, as far as I can remember, very rarely has those like Hjarnan moments, walking up with Silver Spell Shield up and getting cocooned. Like stuff like that. It's
let me just let me die really quickly. Yeah, I don't want to talk too much about XL at least because but
yeah, this is probably the most.
The benefit of Splice is that they did like. They played all right. They bled out XL. They just played pretty standard XL. Just didn't respond. But this game they looked. I mean, it's probably the worst team in the league, so they should beat them like defiantly. But if they didn't, then you should worry. But they did, so it's fine.
I mean, XL versus Vitality next week. I can't wait.
G2 versus Fnatic.
We'll need some. We'll need some live Discord viewing together and just see it. Can you rebroadcast or restream? Like, can you watch the LEC or LCS stream while you're streaming?
Pretty confident that there was a time that there was.
Because I feel like they said
you could do that. You could do it at Worlds.
Yeah.
So
you could do it at Worlds, and I feel like I've seen people like. I mean, if you could do live VOD or not live, you could do VOD reviews of the whole game from start to finish. Why can't you watch it live?
Watch it live anyway, and we'll see what happens. Yeah,
we'll see if Twitch comes over.
We'll see. But yeah,
we'll see. I'll do some googling. But anyways, that's enough about XL. Who's next?
Let's see. We can talk about. Let's talk about Fnatic because we haven't technically, or I haven't.
Okay, and they are the other first place
they're probably
team,
worth talking about. We can get to Schalke, and I guess we kind of touched on Splice. I don't really know what was that other game. That other game was against. Schalke. So we'll talk about them when we get to Schalke. I'll talk about Fnatic, because Fnatic is like, I haven't yet, and...
They are, I mean... And they're also playing
G2
against...
G2 next weekend, yeah.
G2, first game next weekend, that's their first one. So it's a pretty big matchup with this coming in. I mean, they beat Schalke, which they were supposed to beat Schalke. I mean, Schalke's looking okay, but like... I do think Nemesis is way better.
Abadage. I think Abadage is pretty... When they played against Splice, I was like, Humanoid versus Abadage for like the middle of the pack, the most average mid laner in the LEC. But Abadage actually, like he has good moments. Like he doesn't. There's times where he'll be in a really bad position and he'll actually get out, and it's like, he's like, I'm not gonna say mini caps, but I'll be like, look at that. Like turns out not every mid laner has to suck, but of course NA don't know anything about that.
I mean, I don't know if you can count him as a mini caps just because
and now he's not.
Last split, like, just inting doesn't make you a mini caps, or else we have Woah to cover for that.
Woah's mini double lift.
But oh god. But in that game, I mean, Humanoid went 1-9-7. I don't think I've seen a game that shit.
Apparently,
in a
that was
very
not
long
good.
time.
But Fnatic, I do this. I segue off. I trail off. I'm bad at this. Yeah, I'm relatively impressed given that they're like weak start. It's the same team and they were really weak in spring and they ramped up and they ended up third and they looked pretty good at the end and you're like, they're coming into form, and that form has not dropped. Unlike I don't want to say unlike other teams, but like obviously all the MSI teams outside of G2 had a relative amount of rust. You'd think over that time, potentially not having to play against, not being able to scrim against the best teams in the league would mean maybe you're gonna look a little shaky. But no, they stayed steady in their improvement. They actually managed to take a game against Origin. I thought that game was really close. Like, that game could have went either way, to be fair. If I can find what I put. Yeah, that game could have went, I say either way. It was relatively close at certain points. OG just had like leads in a different area of the map through like CS leads and things. Their swap with Bwipo in the mid was smart, but also something that I'd obviously talked about in the All In podcast. Where I'm like, I don't think it's smart to have a player play a lane that they're not used to playing. Granted, Nemesis actually looked better than Froggen when he was in top lane. There was that. He didn't turbo in it.
Yeah. I mean, Nemesis did perfectly fine, but ironically, Bwipo is the one who can't adapt as well. Even though he was playing a matchup that he should know, like
the lane's just a little more awkward to maneuver, and considering ganks and things.
Yeah, I mean, Bwipo was passable because, like, I mean, you're just playing Shen. Even if you do slightly poorly, all you have to do is click your ults at the right time.
He still got killed, isolated. He still got like an absurd amount of isolated deaths. He just
Well, he died once this time, but his net amount of isolated deaths.
It's still a factor. Like... Even one death feels like enough when you consider the fact that he was the reason for a while that Fnatic were like held back. Is that he just goes off on the side and he's just like, oh, Bwipo's dead. Whoops. On Shen.
Who would have thought if you don't have a free revive or you're not playing Urgot, it's easier to die if you're misplaying. I mean, also Victor. He was good at Victor top, which was absurdly broken. Anyway, I think this game was like a good showing for them. I think that the fact that they were able to match up with OG, who's like is the de facto top 3 team, right? You know, so like just by nature, even though it was a close game and like they still only ended on a 5K gold lead, I think that it was like good enough. Like I don't think that we should be too concerned about.
No, both teams looked good.
Either
both
team
teams
coming out of this,
like pretty damn good. I think that like their game plan was really smart. They just attacked mid a lot.
The issue is I don't know if this means enough though. I don't know if this means they can even give G2 a run
I don't think so.
Next week.
I just think that the fact that they actually managed to beat OG though is something that they hadn't last split. So you look at it and you go, there's an improvement here where they could be top 2, and now there's a consideration for the fact that Fnatic are apparently the guys that came up with the bot lane Pyke, and G2 sold them play it on stream and were like, we should play that. Like the AD Pyke Yumi.
I don't think I've ever seen.
I don't know if I want to. I'm not sure if I want to, but that's what they said on cast.
I've settled on Reckless being like double. If like they are good at their position, they're actually very good at their position, but they cannot. They're the traditional AD carries. I just don't see them playing Pyke or
Dude, what are you on about?
Sona well.
Reckless plays a sick cannon.
This is true. I mean, to be fair, he was the first to bring a like non-traditional AD carry in EU to bot lane and like play it consistently and basically warp the meta to the point where they thought that Cannonball was actually a good pick.
It's pretty nice.
I mean, to be fair, it got a slight nerf before the international tournament. Was it MSI or Worlds where he tried to spam it every game and lost to
MSI? Because I think Uzi won that MSI probably.
Yeah, it was MSI, and like it was the battle of the godly AD carries. Was like underperformed hard because they nerfed Kennen a bit, but he was still playing Kennen.
Yeah, this is kind of a standard Fnatic game though, with like Hylissang going mid a lot. He does his roams, he picks like Rakan, he's like Thresh, he's like, I'm just gonna camp mid. Looks good though, because Nemesis actually really like managed to grow and fill the gap of like that Caps type, where I'm not gonna say he's as good as Caps, but he doesn't need to be as good as Caps to fit the style of player that was necessary. And I actually think Nemesis looks really strong as one of the mid laners in the league. Broxah had a bad game.
Yeah, I mean he's definitely growing, and you could probably make a case for him top
I would
4
say so.
right now.
I mean, what like Caps, Nuked,
him, Nuked,
Nemesis,
Caps.
I can't even think of someone that's really up there in the 4th.
I had someone in mind, but no, actually he could be top 3 because I always put Jizuke up there just because of where his de facto is in my head, but he has not. Last week he played better, but like it's not the top 3 Jizuke.
Abadage could be better than Jizuke.
The world we live in. I mean, Abadage improved. Like, to be fair, like we live in a world in the franchise era where we like expect so much out of our rookies. Like, if you're not like a first split Licorice or first split Whippo, for example. Like you just kind of think it's a disappointment, but like realistically speaking, like
No.
Caps did not look like the best. Perks did not look like the best in their first split or even their first year. I think Caps did not look like the best in his first year. I think Perks didn't look the best in his first split. But afterward, they just like popped the hell off, and it's like, I mean, that's natural. Right? They're rookies, so
awkward phase.
So the nice part about Nemesis is he could get better. I don't know if this was also a result of Broxah just looking a little better as he's like the more he's been playing. Like, I mean, we keep on saying now that he has a sub jungler, he's playing better.
I thought that this game was like
true. So,
sorry, his playing of the position jungle wasn't bad. He was at the right places, but I don't want to see him on Gragas again.
I see that's the caveat. So as a jungler, like I think his it looks like he has all the right ideas. I just don't think like, he's a Gragas player.
He's always at the right spot.
Like, anywhere as well as
he but was. He's just missing like. But at one point he comes mid and he literally misses everything.
He misses everything, because, but they still
because Hylissang like almost like tries to dive under the tower with his grand entrance so that they can't move forward. Because if Thingy moves back, then he dies. So he's like, oh well, I guess I'll just have to stand still and die anyway. But Jesus.
I mean, but still, despite that, I still think like it's still a better sign because, like, yes, his execution was poor, but as long as he's knowing the fundamentals and like he's working with his team, fine. Like, just
Gragas,
don't play Gragas.
Yeah, or practice you've been Gragas. Good on mechanical like, junglers. I don't think that you can't do it, but like, what was this? This was like, both teams had good vision. Yeah. That's something to keep in mind, considering other teams,
which is a good.
Because considering other teams like globally are like sucking vision, they just can't do it. Both teams like felt like they actually knew that they needed to place wards like more than just once or twice. So I was like, oh, once again, it's a time where when I'm watching somebody run around the map, there's just wards everywhere instead of just in the fucking river or just right as dragon spawns. They're like, oh fuck, I forgot to place that. So that was good. Surprisingly to see OG's solo lane is actually like down, but
yeah, but I mean it is Fnatic's solo laner, so they're not like slouches. And I mean Nuke Duck playing slightly poorly on the OP as hell Aatrox is a little bit concerning for me personally. Like I think he should be. I mean, I think he should be destroying Bippo even more than he did, but it is hard. It is hard when you do have like Healy camping you and there is a Gragas. A Gragas is a very strong early game. Okay, obviously he misexecuted, but you can't count on that when you're like taking into account the jungler as a mid laner. But overall, both teams look fine. I'm excited for Rift Rivals looking that
teams coming in strong.
Like a super team, because so far, at least for this week, well, it might change next week, but it's like it looks like there's one EU super team and then two like very strong contenders, and then NA there's like 3 strong contenders. So like it's going to be exciting with that in mind. Until like OG or Fnatic obviously drop the ball hard for EU and then make everyone salty against them. And then G2 has to drag the corpse of the rest of the EU teams.
We'll see.
We'll see. We'll see. Hopefully we just don't get blown out.
I think that NA might actually have a decent showing, given that I think the patch is 9.12. So I think no one will have had a read.
And that is a nerf to the characters that so we'll see. At the very least, I want to see like the TSM Fnatic, like those really hype games. Or actually, no, I want to see TSM G2 because people keep on telling me TSM could have done better.
Yes, they do. Like
TSM wouldn't have made it to the finals. That's the problem.
If TSM wouldn't have beat IG,
like maybe they will do better against G2, TSM but they would never have beaten IG. Not in any universe. They just don't have the preparation or the veteranship to like.
There's like so much. I think there's a lot that like favors Team Liquid in terms of how they actually managed to control IG and beat IG, as where like if IG get to play their game, then they win.
I mean, I'm sure Perks just like went down in the hot tub and he's like, "All right, Team Liquid, I'll just do anything you guys want. Just take out IG for me, please." Like. Jensen, do you want to spot on this team as the jungler someday?
We heard you like, you can come back home to EU, dude. We got you a spot. Yankos, who gives a fuck that guy? Garbage player anyway. Can't even play Pike.
Yeah, I mean, anyway, we were gonna
Yeah,
have a
for
Rift
sure.
Rival show though.
There's no reason not to. It'll
Probably
be funny.
like I don't know when, but it will definitely be beforehand. Rift Rivals is on like the 27th, I think, or 28th.
Sooner.
So we still have a week.
Yeah. Might
Very
as well
soon.
talk about the
All
Schalke game
right,
a little bit as well, because then we can move on to Schalke after that. I'm trying to
Okay.
think. First thing, and this is just like me. I'm offended, and I don't know why, but I heard this and I'm like, what? Ender on the cast was like, oh, Hillesang might be the best pike in Europe. Hillesang, the support. Yeah, no,
Like
he said
Pike
just best
support.
pike. And obviously, he's talking about, he's fantastic at playing pike as the support. But
I mean, we have been saying Hillsang is one of the best pikes for a long time. Just like last year alone, like his pike was like something
is he
to be
better?
feared. Although
But
he
is he
never pulled it
better
out at Worlds.
mechanically on the champion than Perks or Caps or Wonder or Mickey? Because Mickey plays it.
I mean, it's hard to say this current iteration if he's better. Like, you will always look
Yes.
better on a better team. Like, Pike is a character inherently that if
Then
your
you
team
look
is a
better.
super team, you are going to look amazing because there's just all these opportunities. So it's hard for me to say. I think it's just one of those
Probably.
caster hyperboles that they throw out. Like when I watched LPL, for example, last year, or last split, it was like RNG, the best team in the world, or the best jungler in the world, Carson. I was like, I mean, Carson's definitely like one of the best in China. I think he's, even with their team not playing well, I think he was one of the best, but I don't think he's the best in the world because of that. Like, there's just like a lot of like question marks there. But I think it's just like you get hyped, you see a sick play from like a great player, and you just like the narrative gets pushed forward. So I think Healy played it fine. I think it does say something, that the fact that they don't pick Pike very often when it's up for them, that like I don't think it's that scary on him, but he played fine. And like I feel bad for Upset that he had to play against that. I think that Upset and Ignar just are weird to me. Like they just well, I don't know why they picked up Ignar for Upset.
Well, because Ignar wanted to come back to EU and Ignar looked really good.
Oh no, for sure, but why throw him on a team that like could be a contender team? Like you already have like a superstar AD carry like in the making. I don't know if he'll flourish or fall on Schalke is left to be seen, but like Upset is one of the best like prospects for a long time in EU. You should be throwing on like a high level support with him. I don't think Ignar, even when he was with Hansam, I don't think it was a high level support. He's just really good at one style. He's really good at hook, heavy engaged characters, but like that's not the meta. So I mean, maybe they're just like picking it up as like a long term thing, and they're not picking for the meta. But I mean,
I don't know if I'm not sure if there's
not
other
exciting
pickups
for
that
me.
they could have got that, like, I mean, they could have maybe.
I guess EU supports are sort of lacking
got MSI
right
champion Promise Q when he was like go for a little bit. That could have been.
Between Ignar and Promise Q, I'd have to flip a coin.
You really you rate Ignar on the same level as MSI champion Promise Q? Yeah.
I thought you were gonna say it the other way.
I meant it the other way, but I said it. No,
all right.
I do think Ignar's better than Promise Q.
He might be.
What?
I don't know. I'm not super convinced he's worth the import slot.
I guess.
Though.
I don't know. I'll say
because you have to keep in mind that that's an import, and LEC doesn't import a lot, but you could have imported elsewhere if you really needed it. Actually, no. On this team, they do have Odo, Abadaga, and Upset, so I wouldn't import for any of those roles if you had those guys already lined up. Yeah, and I guess Trick and Ignar are a set also, from BBQ. Like they've played together for a while.
BBQ. It was BBQ.
I think
for some reason my brain immediately said G2, but Trick was on G2 and with Sven and Mithy, so I'm just wrong. Yeah. But yeah, I think this was the game that impressed me the most from Fnatic at first, just because it showed me all the things that I wanted to see. Their deep vision was fantastic. The was really
Dragon
good.
Control was great. Rotations
was playing Silas, which made him look like Silas was broken on this patch still, but like You know, he looked good, and he was a worry of the team. They played a really good tempo. They took control of the map, and they're just like, we're just gonna go, we're just gonna go, we're just gonna go. Which was, you know, on the cast like, oh, they're playing forward, forward, forward. But really, what they mean is, maybe we'll fall a little bit here and there, but let's just actually try and win the game quickly, which is what G2 do. So they were almost imitating, not quite in the same way, but they were like, tempo, whoosh, let's go this way, just fucking.
I think this was one of the biggest gold leads I've ever seen at 27 minutes too. They had a 17.5k gold lead.
Yeah.
Or 17.3k gold lead at 27 minutes. That's
they like,
kind of
once
absurd.
they got it, once they just got that ball, they were running and running and running. What's absurd is to think that at a 17k gold lead, they hadn't ended the game. They kind of.
Yeah, that's true.
Yeah.
27 minutes is a pretty good time to end the game at.
They were getting there. The gold lead kind of just accumulated from, if I remember, like several just like in response quick plays that resulted in a lot of gold. And then they were like, also we should probably take towers.
Yeah.
Or end the game rather, because they were. They did a 1-3-1 literally just to end it off. So it pretty like really standard European game in the end.
Yeah. Also, there was the Triforce TF play that was showcased there. So, I mean, it's not the only one we've seen, but it was one of the more effective uses of it with Nemesis on it. So that's good to see that one of the more meta mid laners that probably will get even more priority after Sylas gets nerfed, and which is good because, like, you know, Sylas can't take Destiny, so there's that. Well, he can, but like he won't be there to take Destiny, is what I meant. And stuff like that. So I mean, I think we'll just see more TF as the other mid laners are getting nerfed or like changed
Sylas,
around him.
Like pre-nerf against Twisted Fate, pretty much just easily solo kills them.
I'm surprised they didn't pick it. It was up here this game.
That's weird.
They actually didn't pick it. They let Rise go through. It might just because the lane matchup is a slightly poor for Sylas, because like TF can just literally stack that Klepto. Yeah, but like after a certain point, Sylas should just dick on him. So I don't know.
Fnatic looked great in this game. Schalke a little bit weaker. Fnatic had a good. They committed to the bot dive. They were like, oh yeah, Yumi's really weak before first back. Let's just go. Things like this that are like really. A lot of other teams aren't punishing Yumi enough when it gets through. So overall, Fnatic better than Schalke at least, solidifying them.
Schalke's still fine as a team.
When you consider how well Fnatic are starting to look, I don't think that Schalke like lose out from this and go, oh wow, they're in trouble. They were never gonna be top 3. This just means that the gap between 3 and 4 is a little wider than, which is good for a region where you where you want to like be competitive internationally.
Yeah, I mean, as a final word for Schalke, it is a little weird that this is the team that like only a year ago was second place, finishing in all of BU. Was it second?
Yes, it was. It was.
Was it summer split or spring split?
Summer.
Because I know Splice.
No, it couldn't have been summer. Oh, God, how long ago? They played against Fnatic in the finals. It was okay. They lost. Yeah, they played against Fnatic at Worlds. Before that Worlds, like. And they lost that because they didn't go to Worlds. And then Fnatic looked. Yeah.
Right, and they lost in the gauntlet.
That's what it was. Or maybe it's something like that.
Yeah, Fnatic was. They were second place during the regular season, or during the playoffs. They lost to Fnatic. Fnatic got the auto seed. Schalke didn't have enough points to split before. I think it's either Schalke or Splice. I forget which one got second.
They looked good before.
Either way,
they don't look as good.
It's just weird that Schalke fell off so hard, like from where we expect them to be. They're like a 5th place, 4th place team.
I mean, I'm not sure whether I'd rate them over Splice, probably, but the game they played against Splice was so almost like literally. I could have flipped a coin like 20 times and probably guessed it right the same amount of times as I could have guessed this game going, if that makes sense. Probably. Look, this game was weird. It was.
Yeah, okay. I was like, that metaphor is a little weird.
Like, They're playing Rumble. They played Rumble into Cannon, which is fine. Rumble loses the matchup, but they're both really big team fighting champions, and every team fight was the same. Trick runs forward on Skarner, picks someone, usually Aurelia. Wow, Aurelia's in the team. Really?
Yeah. Aurelia didn't build QSS until like her eighth death
big Rumble ult comes out. Wow. Oh no, Splicer losing the team fight. The Rumble ult was huge. Aurelia is dead. What's that? Vizichachi on Kennen flash ults into 5 members and hits all 5 of them with fucking slicing maelstrom again for like the 4th time, and then backs off because he's got no ult left, and then sometimes Splicer's AD carry wins the fight, and other times Schalke's AD carry wins the fight, and it was so goddamn coin flippy, and it was good to watch, but like in terms of what the teams were doing, it was almost the same thing. And also, yes, Humanoid he's Aurelia into Silas. He goes for the Wit's End first because he doesn't want to, because he needs the MR. He needs the MR. I don't know if he does, but he chose that. Then
the idea makes some sense, but the QSS was needed at some point.
Yeah, it gets worse, right? Because not only does he go for the Wit's End, delaying his Triforce, but he then goes for the TM. Like, he starts building the Phage and the Sheen, but then he gets Tiamat before he finishes Triforce, and then finishes Triforce because he doesn't have fucking space in his inventory because he's got boots and wards. Ooh, Jesus. So he can't even get a QSS. It was really bad. It's really stupid, at least, because their mid laner could have actually made up for Splice's team fighting here. Considering he went down most of the time before ulting and things like that. Odo's Rumble ults outside of like the team fights were awful as well. And he went Morello over Leandri's on Rumble at this point, which I don't think is good. Morello's not as gold efficient as it used to be.
It's way less gold efficient. Yeah. In fact, a lot of people don't even go past the orb unless you really need the Grievous. But there should be other sources on your team to get the Grievous. He just went for the
Morello and his Zhonya's, and he didn't even build a Leandri's, which was really strange. Yeah,
that's one way to put it. Really bad. It was how I would go with it. Basically, that's our way of saying when we say something is really strange. It's usually a way of saying like it was bad, but we don't want to make the fans. I'm not trying to shit on
every player. Like, you can make mistakes, but like if you make a mechanical mistake, that can be like brushed off. But if you don't know what item to build when the math is almost done for you, that's usually what your coach can do and be like, by the way, this build's not actually as efficient as this other one. This isn't as gold efficient. It's not as good for you. Please don't build Morello. And you're like, oh, what's that? Build Morello Nomicon. Okay. For no reason.
I feel like these people who live and breathe League should know this stuff. But for some reason, it's just like, it just constantly, it's not just like a one-off. Like, a lot of high-level players just don't build efficiently. And like, yeah, you could say like, oh, they're pros, you're not. So how could you know? But
math.
Analysts will tell you this. Like, pro players they don't always think about this stuff. They just like, sometimes they just play the game and they're like, oh, that I could have done this better.
Sometimes some people are nutty. League of Legends is a very complicated game in a sum of its parts. So you can be really good at all of the other things that don't matter, but things like this at the pro level do matter. This is the only time where it probably does. So
yeah, I mean, sometimes it's a game of inches, and if you're literally like giving up a foot just because you made a silly decision like building the wrong item, that can really snowball. But either way, as long as they don't, like, this is early on in the split, I understand that sometimes this is just like the coach didn't mention it, they messed up. As long as they VOD review it and they
both of these teams again looked okay coming out of this game, at least. Like, I thought that right at the end it was kind of sad because Schalke read the TP flank from the cannon and just kill him. And I'm like, so if they didn't read that flank, which obviously is really obvious, but if it was a deeper ward or something, then Splice would still be in the game. But past that, the inhib goes down, and then Kobe gets like, he basically gets a pentakill, bar like what must have been 10 damage of the Nexus. Like, the Nexus goes down right as he is hitting him, which stops the game, so he doesn't get the kill. But if he got the kill, then the Nexus wouldn't have went down.
He would have got a
He
penta
was
and would
this
have
close
saved
to
it.
being
Yeah.
fucking amazing.
Dude, the casters were literally like, "Oh, the game's over," or "The game's saved" or something, and then he just like gets the auto off and like boom, and we're like,
and it's
wait, because like it was like all the hype that you usually get as you get to a pentakill, and everyone was like, "Oh shit, he saved the game."
It's worse because of how I don't know if it's spectator or not, I don't remember, but like the Nexus always keeps an inch of health, and then instead of going down, the game ends because the Nexus explodes. So you don't ever see the health bar empty. So it's not like the Nexus just exploded with a tiny bit of health, and you're like, what? But it's just that's how that reads out, and it's it sucked. Sad to be there.
It looked shitty,
hype.
but it was hype. Like I was like, oh shit,
Kobe's nuts. He's the best AD carry in EU. Oh my god. Oh, he's about to save the game. If he was good, he probably wouldn't have been in this position. Maybe. I mean, he did almost save it. Almost upset. Also, I don't think.
Like I don't think this is a Kobe's fault game. Or
it's
Kobe.
funny.
God, I feel bad for him.
He tried his goddamn best. It was on Ash as well. It wasn't even like a super mechanical like nuts. He was dudes out here on Ash being like, I could have saved the game. My team's fucking. It's weird that they didn't execute Sejuani Ash as well as they could have. They did once or twice, but I don't know. I don't think that it like screams awfulness for them in the early split to try something that's not necessarily as teamfight orientated. So hey,
yeah, I agree.
Who are we missing? Origin, right?
Yeah, that's the last one I have time for too. So it's Origin. Yeah, I think that's the last one we're talking about. We talked about
Misfits a little bit, at least. Yeah, we did.
We talked about everyone. We talked about everyone but Origin. We've like in passing for Origin, but
probably be better schedule with this. But I feel like just freeform of what we're talking about makes
freeform because sometimes like the way the matches like flow into each other, it's just more. Yeah. It's more natural to talk like this into this because if we go from top to bottom of the list, it sometimes just seems weird. Like let's not talk about the guy they played against, so because they're not relevant.
Conversational makes
sense.
We'll
see. We'll test it.
Origin, obviously they had their game against Fnatic, which we said they looked good. Like it's unfortunate that they lost outside of in the way that they did because they had leads from like. Despite their solo laners being down, they had like gold leads. They had map leads basically. Until round about, I want to say 15-20 minutes into the game, where Fnatic were like, all right, actually, maybe we should just kill these guys. And then they started getting kills back. Even then, I think that like the gold lead was still just in OG's favor, which shows that they recuperate from losses, from deficits really well. Like they punished Fnatic when they were forcing the Rift. They dropped Rift Herald on the tier 2 tower, and like they're just like, oh, they're just gonna go for the tier 2. There's no way they're not. We just watched them play like yesterday. They're like so aggressive, or whatever it was. So they like just come back bot. Next thing you know, Reckless and Hillsang are just under the tier 2 tower, like 17 minutes into the game, die. You're like, when would that ever happen from a top team? Just like actually in between two. But hey, whatever. That's a good punish. Teams even, good vision control of each other, they like OG read the map and read the enemies really well. But sometimes being able to read them doesn't always matter if your mid laner is like 0-3 and your top lane is also 0-3.
Yeah, we've been putting Nuke Duck like pretty high up there for a while now, and I still think he's probably number 2, but he's definitely shown some kinks in his gameplay. Yeah,
you'd think that he could still.
This is true, and I mean, if Caps gets camp, he also sometimes feeds like that too. So maybe he's like a top EU.
You think that maybe he could do a little better, but like, it's almost like he just never got time to roll. I don't know why. I'm not sure if I feel him on the Aatrox, but I don't know. Like.
I mean, Aatrox is just like if it gets through and someone can play it, you really should be playing it. But I agree that I also don't know if I feel him on it because it's like sometimes it's just like it could have been better.
Yeah,
to say the least.
I mean, Origin's one of these teams where when we do these, it's gonna unless something horrifically bad happens, like they're gonna even in their like losses, they're gonna look pretty strong because they're probably only gonna lose to Fnatic and G2, and at worst I'm trying to think of another team that like plays good tempo, like quick, and can actually potentially take out Origin. But I don't even know if they would potentially lose to any other team. Like they can still, and they're the most likely to beat.
They could randomly drop a game to
potentially,
SK,
yeah. Crown Shot
the
does
tempo they
play quite quick. Not Crown Shot, Self-Made. Jesus.
Yeah. Self-made.
Yeah.
I mean, Crown Shot's an
So, but Self-Made plays a fairly quick game. So, no, I don't know. I think the Origin are always gonna like. They're just the number 2 team in Europe, and they still look like the number 2 team in Europe, despite losing to Fnatic. I feel like that's like a we're swapping around a little bit. Fnatic did beat them, so I guess I should say, they're the 3rd best team in Europe. But the gap between, again, 2 and 3, not that thick. The gap between 3 and 4, a little bit bigger. It's and that's not necessarily bad for a region. At least I don't think so, because I think since only your top 3 teams go to Worlds, it doesn't matter if your 4th to 10th place teams are like.
Well,
scaling.
It would be nice to have like a kind of like a race for those last spots, like the 4th and 5th are like on the heels of the 3rd and 2nd, because like in NA we have GGS, which is like exciting. It's like it's nice to see Golden Guardians be in the conversation, because if it's just TSM.
I don't know what you're talking about, dude. Optics near the top. Like, you got 6-way tie for 1st in LCS right now.
CLG is near the top. It's such a weird world we live in.
I can't wait. NALCS is the dark time. It's the dark timeline version of the ULCS.
I mean, but I love it. It's definitely more. It's more exciting for me right now, but only because like I haven't seen like a G2 Fnatic.
I can't wait for Dignitas to come back as well. That's gonna spice things up as well. 2020.
It's definitely gonna spice things up. I mean, we're gonna have Dig back and Immortals back. I mean, I don't think they're changing the branding for Immortals at least, but Dig is gonna change the branding, so that's cool.
Optic Gaming. I don't know.
Aren't they?
They might be.
I don't think it's actually announced, but I know Dig is changing.
We'll see. I know Optic is.
Dig is changing Clutch to.
I know Optic is spending a lot of money, so I can see why they'd probably stay as Optic. Might just be better branding.
Yeah, but it might be better branding, but I don't know. I mean, I think for League at least, League fans probably have more of an attachment to Immortals than Optic.
That's true, but people have Immortals. There's negative stigma on Immortals with a bunch of the fact that they wasted like 40. They wasted a lot of money of VC, so branding and sponsors don't really like that. Oh wow, that team that.
I mean, Optic is literally the one who's like,
it's
in debt to the bank,
all kinds of organization. It's okay, it's whatever, it's fine.
Did very mediocre in the other splits, but we'll see. This is for the all-in podcast more so than here.
So we'll do some closing. We'll come up with a better closing statement, or like generally like I ramble, so closing is really hard. And I always want to think of something like stupidly clever to put at the end, which is that's where the rogue meter came from, because the rogue meter is clever, I guess.
Clever enough. I mean, it's better than the locos.
What was he trying?
He was trying to push. I absolutely something. I'm not crazy. I'm just loco. That one actually hurts me on a spiritual level.
I like if he.
I mean, he'll grow up someday and he'll look back.
If he wasn't as cringy, I wouldn't watch those.
Or he's. That's true. If he's just super smart. Maybe he's just doing it on purpose.
Maybe I'm getting worked.
It is memorable.
Like, really hard. Yeah, dude. But I suppose we can just end with the closing statements of what are the exciting games for next week. Obviously, we can't wait to talk about Fnatic G2, but my favorite, XL versus Vitality. Can't wait. That's gonna be a hell of a game. Who are Rogue playing? That's what I need to know.
I'm supposed to. Rogue are playing G2. Rest in peace. And Splice. So the Splice game could be close, but the G2 game, they're not ready. Rogue would be like, they'd be like 12 out of 6 or some shit like that if they were able to beat
Rogue
G2
to bring G2 their first loss. I can't wait.
Oh man, we'll be at such a spicy show if they do it.
Well, that's it. Unfortunately, it's not been a crazy week. There's not that many dumb things to talk about.
No. but we will have G2 and Fnatic to break into next week.
If Rift Rivals are next week,
I'm looking forward to it.
That means the LEC is paused for a week.
No,
the week
Rift
after.
Rivals aren't next week.
Okay, alright, so we still...
It's like during...
So we have week 3 and then we stop, and then Rift Rivals, and then... No, isn't there a week...
So Rift Rivals is next week, but it's on Thursday, and LEC is this week.
Yes, you're right, because... Yeah, okay.
Because it's on Tuesday right now. We're used to like doing the show on Monday, so it feels closer to the week before.
Well, there we go. So we will be back next week, and then there'll be a weird transition.
We will be back next week, and then we'll probably do 2 shows or maybe a super show.
I mean, a super show for us would be really long, but that's an idea. That is an idea for something.
That's true.
Actually, that we can talk about after. So yeah. Expect a little bit more different types of content thrown up on the channel as time goes on, because we're slowly getting into this, but we're slowly ramping up on production levels and different people and guests and things that are in the works. Of course, a lot of people talk about that, but I promise you that by the end of Worlds this year, we will be the number 2 League of Legends talk show, not number 1. I can't promise that. That's too much, but but number 2,
with where your
we're gonna kill it. Catch me at Worlds, like interviewing pros. Oh, actually, Worlds is in EU, so I will more than likely be at Worlds to do content.
It would be a lot more likely for you. I will probably be at NALCS finals.
Your boy knows exactly how to get a press pass as well, so I actually do.
That's a good.
I didn't even think about that, but I am totally gonna try and get that on the hookup and see if I can sort that out. So exciting things potentially soon, hopefully. So if you enjoy all this, then catch us again next week, probably Wednesday. I think Wednesday is going to be the upload schedule. If not Tuesday, but I'm currently thinking like record Monday, edit Tuesday, upload Wednesday, and then other content probably coming out by the weekend. Also remember to catch us over at the All In podcast, which I believe goes up every Tuesday, because we sit down at we record on a Monday.
Goes up the day after. So we record on Monday, we stream on Monday, and then we.
I'll put stuff again, links, little graphic bullshit around. You can go and visit that, because we're on there weekly, talking about LCS, and we'll see you guys next week. Have a good one.